Ladies and gentlemen, for the past like 2 or 3 months, I haven't been playing anything other than Tomb Raider. Well, almost. After 11 games, we're finally at the end of the line, and that was quite the journey. We're wrapping things up with the finale of this franchise. So Shadow was a big deal for me. Came to you this time around by not Core Design, not Crystal Dynamics, but by Eidos Montreal. Since you know, our boys here were busy developing the best game ever. The Avengers. This game is weird, since I see many fans saying either this is one of the worst games in this franchise, or saying it's the best of the survival trilogy. It surely did receive and sell well, but is it any good? Can it be a good successor to the great game which is Rise of the Tomb Raider? I think you need to watch my Tomb Raider 2013 video and Rise to understand the series, or better yet, just watch the whole series and come back, since I'm gonna compare it a lot, especially with Rise. Alright, bring coffee or something, and let's go. The game starts pretty strong 3 years after the events of Rise of the Tomb Raider, Lara having to track down Trinity's Hell operation into South America cave. Everything looked promising, it was claustrophobic, scary, and the game looked amazing. I was quite hooked there, and then she follows the head of this operation to know who is the next Trinity Kingpin. It turns out to be Mr. Generic looking Mexican Domingo. I was quite stunned here by the amount of NPCs that there is. It really felt like a true sequel to the last two games. 2013 starts slow and scary. She put her big girl bands with Rise. Now the production is Activisionally big and so many things happen at once. I was quite impressed. Anyway, at the end of this operation, Lara takes a dagger and then a sudden thing happened where Lara felt like something supernatural happened to her, and of course an earthquake. After this, Lara applied the exact sentence of when you found out, therefore making a whole city drown, and there's even a little kid scene here which is quite shocking and depressing. Never knew they had it in them. And then stupid Tomb Raider happened and we meet Dominguez. And he let her go easily after an awful dialogue which makes 2013 and Rise look like Red Dead Redemption. Anyway, this is quite the introduction. So after that I thought I was going in for a treat, but my god was I wrong. Now this game confuses me more than I think it's good or bad. Like stuff happened and I don't know how to react. It was just weird. The part I like the most is Jonah. Are these muscles or are you just fat? That boy has been on quite the ethnic journey. One time he was full Mexican in Tomb Raider 1, next game he was black, and now he looked Asian to South American? Mr. Selling Point over here. Apart from an obvious agenda with his looks, I find his relationship with Lara is almost always the highlight of this trilogy story. He shows compassion and accountability, like here when he just wanted to help the people after what Lara did.
The only one that can what? You don't know that you caused all this, Lara!
And start developing sort of resilience towards her in this helicopter scene. But still, he managed to be the wise guy and great friend.
Jonah! Lara? I was so worried.
His relationship with Lara is standpoint as always, but this is the best version of him we got so far. Happy Mr. Fat? I give you your flowers. Lara on the other hand, I somewhat dislike. The previous two games were showing me everything I need to see about Lara. She was cool and badass and scared and a hero all at once. This time, she has the character of a toothpaste not brushing food leftovers in your teeth. She takes the part of a hero way too much, where now she's just boring. Okay Lara, I get it, you want to save the world and I feel guilty, but my god, couldn't you be more interesting? Most of the time she talks about the next objectives and how she wanna help people. She barely know. That's why her and Jonah work. I wouldn't go out to say Lara is introvert, but Jonah's definitely an extrovert.
Okay, Jonah.
How do you know everybody in town?
I talked to them. You should try it.
I liked the hell out of the young Lara sequences. It was quite personal and adventurous, and she had better character than the adult one, believe it or not. You can just imagine how disappointing that is. 2013 developed her on the survival aspect. Rise is more in touch with her personal and emotion, occasionally shows us pieces of her past and her father to keep us interested. Shadow is just her doing nothing but be a hero. They might as well be a player in the subtitle like Black Ops 3. And I don't like the ending as much as I should, since you know, the whole sun and moon, I felt like it could have been better if we care more about the characters, but it is what it is. Trust me, I can go on and on about how stupid the story can be sometimes, like when Lara becomes undercover while they are on the hunt for a white lady with this strong British accent. She is clearly recognizable as being the only white and the only woman, like how cannot you see her? However, I'm saying I'm confused since even the story does have many things that interested me and done well, like the direction, it's very good. The camera work and some events is straight out of movie. And this game had the best acting scenes in this franchise ever. Like when Lara cries here. And it's the great acting and stuff like this which makes me can't say this game has a bad presentation.
You can't think it's the same.
It is. To a 9-year-old girl, I was a child!
And there's even cool option to make NPCs speak their native language. Ooga booga, caveman life good. But overall, and in the end, nothing memorable. It felt and went too far with some of the changes for no reason at all. And that's, my friend, why I don't like the story. Graphics fidelity is amazing with the surprising improvements upon Rise, like a significant one, and Rise looked amazing even today. But graphics fidelity isn't everything. Now, just to be clear, I do think the graphics are amazing and one of the best in its year, no doubt. But hear me out, at least about the art style. You see, when these scenes happened, I don't know if I should be stunned or what, since I saw this one exactly over and over and over. Everything is very green and jungle-like in this game, and you might say, no shit terrorist, Arab, it's set in the jungle. Of course it's gonna look like jungle, always. I would like to humbly remind you of Far Cry 3 and even Tomb Raider 3. Jungle can look interesting when you use all its elements, but this game doesn't use anything other than grass, much grass, way too much grass, and the ancient looking walls. We'll talk more about that later in the DLCs, but as for now, doesn't look very appealing to the eyes as for the environment. Now, main characters on the other hand look amazing, like Jonah, which he looked just almost perfect. On the other hand, Lara?
What's different about you?
He has no eyebrows, Tony.
And yep, this franchise keep changing her looks over and over almost every single game, and I had enough. In every installment, she looked like someone else. Angel of Darkness, Legend, Anniversary, Underworld, 2013, Rise, and Shadow. Like, oh my god, settle on something, people. She looked good and well detailed in Rise. Why would you change her that much? Even now she looked good and well detailed, but she seemed a bit lazy compared to the previous two games. Side character looked good, so graphically it looked amazing, but so much repetitiveness which almost killed the vibe for me. Soundtrack leaves much to be desired and barely played, but when it did, I did have my enjoyment with it. It's just a disappointing one. So that's Shadow of the Tomb Raider presentation. It's disappointing and left me saying why over and over again, but it is what it is. Tomb Raider never strikes me as your grandfather great storytelling game, but had its moments here and there. Shadow didn't even have these moments. Aside from like 3 best acting scene in this franchise, nothing is worth your time here. Big element in this one is something that is much needed, specifying your experience by setting things like fighting and exploring and puzzles on hard or normal or easy. Such an amazing feature which many games need. So the gameplay in this one is an upgrade and a downgrade compared to Rise. While the other two focus on shooting, this one surprisingly don't focus on shooting. It does focus however on something which made the series popular. Yep, the puzzles are very good and well thought, even better than Rise, and I think Rise puzzles are pretty decent. Most likely it's not one thing that you're gonna do and then the puzzle finish. No, it's much more complicated with many steps that require to use your brain. Heard that, 2013? Brain. There are many puzzles which is, in my opinion, are some of the best in this franchise. Mission 6, this young Lara Queen puzzle is masterly done, both by the puzzle itself and by the atmosphere. They captured perfection here. First you need to put the right coordinates, and then you need to have the light shine on their armor, and finally of course you need the queen placed in a spot where the knight bow to her. Oh my god. And it's not always puzzles which focus on thinking. Some puzzles focus on timing and opportunity, like this wheel thing with blades. You need to perfectly calculate when to move and when to stop, otherwise you'd be Blade Runner. Truth be told, it's not always hard puzzles. It does show some easy puzzles from time to time. You have to just put the right shapes in the dice, but even that easy puzzle does have a twist to it. But don't let these easy few puzzles make you not enjoy the perfection of some puzzles, like this fire bath puzzle. You have to let this Game of Thrones intro fire holes reach the gate and burn it, and that's only possible if you tweak for a bit with the right shape wheels. Great stuff and very satisfying, much better than Rise, and slap 2013 on the cheeks. You have a bunch of new features to expand the platforming, and these are rope rappel to descend from a wall and then swing. Also, swimming underwater is finally back, and it's amazing after it being surprisingly absent from the previous two games. Also, climbing a tree and swinging between them is a big deal in this one. Look, early levels I was impressed a bit by the immersion and how cool the platforming is, especially in some areas where it was kinda challenging, but moving on and on I found it less and less enjoyable and more like, okay, here we go, I gotta take 5 from the story to do platforming. And towards the end I was straight up bored and annoyed at the platforming, and that white colored guide spit in the face of fans of the series, though I think you can turn it off somehow. Rope descending is just slow and not enjoyable, climbing ledges is slow, and hell, at one point you have these spark boots to help you climb in 45 degrees angle on the wall, and this is just depressing. Like, look how slow it is. I swear if you pull the realistic card, realistic or not, it's boring, and she kills a god like 2 levels later, so shut up. Also, surprisingly, this one just brings back some of the LAU problems that was absent for like what, 10 years, and these are scripted platforming and weird camera and miss inputs. Does it happen as much as LAU? No. Does it happen often? No. Is it annoying when it happens? Yeah. Plus, due to the lighting and unrecognizable textures, some ledges are not very clear whether you can climb on them or not, but doesn't happen much often, to be honest. Anyway, moving into something less problematic. So again, Lara controlled very beautifully in this one. She is responsive and not very hard to deal with, and she doesn't have no moves or anything that is new, just more polished moving system. But my god, can it sometimes be annoying. Too many areas takes away the control for Lara just to move extremely slow, and that happened many times, sometimes in the same area, so you can't say it just loading the next area. What happened in this one? Why are these weird decisions made by the devs? Anyway, you have the skill tree, and I can't say I'm mad about it. Most of them are okay, and some are very essential. I don't know why you need an upgrade for something that you had in 2013 Rise, like documents and relics being highlighted using the survival instinct, but some were effective, like the chain takedowns, and a good chunk, and may I say most of them, focus on one thing, which brings my next point. If you have seen my 2013 Rise video, you'd know I always start the gameplay talking about the shooting. So why I haven't even mentioned the shooting in this one? Because it doesn't exist! You have million upgrades, like 25 guns or something, and very few shooting. Why? This is sad, especially that the shooting is fantastic in this one. Like, you have this improved stealth system and many tools to help you fight, but you almost can't use them, and that is perhaps my biggest problem in this game. I do objects to level up, to gain XP, to upgrade guns as skills, which is many by the way, and I can't even use them in the game? Why? You see, sometimes returning to old formula doesn't always work. These old games don't need the shooting sections, but Shadow sure did. It felt like just empty and bland, since you know you're not always doing puzzles. Hell, even the shooting doesn't come without its fair share of problems. Like, sometimes the penalties are crazy. Like, if you shoot the grenades and you don't have them, Lara will not fire for like 1 or 2 seconds. And aiming acceleration is even worse than Rise. I felt like I was moving a whole tank, and then suddenly it becomes Sonic with its sensitivity. You also have many types of enemies, like the armored one or the thermal guys, and oh my god, is that you? So the gameplay is pretty solid in its core, but unfortunately it's not utilized well, which makes a great gameplay like this played like a mediocre one. Here, where the game loses me. Shadow still have the richness, of course, of the previous 2 games with this whole looting thing that almost feel like a little puzzle, but the amount of stuff you take and do will get to the point where it just gets repetitive. Now, I'm not trying to be hard in this game, but dear god, by the end of it, I didn't really have any energy to do more looting. There's a bunch of things that they could have done to make the open world better, but unfortunately they didn't. So let's talk about what's missing. You see, when you play an open world or semi-open world in this case, you either believe the world around you or you think it's only there for the player. Unfortunately, Shadow leans more towards the later one. People activities are stiff, and almost they always do one thing and not bother to do any other activity. With not much dialogue in their speech, with more times they're being silent, you can loot and take stuff from their home without them giving any reaction whatsoever. You can't do much with NPCs in this one. Some you can talk with them, and that's all. My question is that if you can handle that massive scale, why would you put yourself in that situation where you have to make a huge city like the Hidden City filled with NPCs and things to do? It's really sad, since some areas really I feel like I wanted to explore and were done very excellently, and almost always it was the areas with not much NPCs, like the first area where you can see how greatly detailed the jungle is and how looting and challenging is even more fun than Rise. But unfortunately, more times than none, you're gonna be in an area filled with people, which gives Ubisoft a run for the money. But what can you do in this open world? Well, bunch of stuff. Let's start with what's more important. Surprisingly, tombs in this game are just amazing and easily the best part about it. If there were more than 9 tombs in this game, it would have been much higher for me. You have excellent puzzles like the amazingly crafted mirror. You have to reach the end by shining the mirror reflection light on the platform to make your way across. This is amazing and makes you think to even step 1 foot. One tomb had me counterbalancing 2 carts and a bridge, and though simple, I find myself thinking for quite some time to succeed in this puzzle. Or this wind tomb where you have to open curtains to make your way through. Also, you have to balance the platforms to make use of them. This is amazing stuff and easily the best one in this trilogy, and I think in this franchise. More of them would have been much helpful in this game, but even in this state, they are the highlight of this game. So crypts are an upgrade as well. Now they have a little puzzle for you to do and the traps you have to avoid. Unlike Rise, where they just have you lost, what's fun in that? No, in Shadow, they are almost timed puzzle and traps that test your timing mostly. And much like Tombs, so much enjoyment came from the crypts.
Serpent guard, like my father.
I'm sure he's very proud of you.
Side quests are just bad. I'm sorry, I know some people might get enjoyment out of these types of missions, but objectively they are bad. Where you have to talk to NPCs that you don't care about to tell you a story you don't care about, and then he sent you to talk to 5 other guys to tell you a story that you don't care about. They took notes from the best. Of course, there were some okay ones, like one time I had to help a child and finish off enemies in that area.
Copy that on search.
To relieve him from labor.
Thank you so much.
But most, if not all the other times, they were just painfully stupid and too much walking and talking. You know, sometimes less is more. I like the early days of side missions where you don't have to know much about the side giver or their 7th ancestor. It was just straight to the point for a while. Then of course, video games took a different route and they made them filled with stuff and lore to almost make it feel like a main quest. Why? Anyway, that could be a bit subjective, but that's just my opinion. Challenges can vary from being very stupid and very nice. On one hand, one time I had to blow up some barrels. Yeah, that's actually a challenge. Other time I had to carefully platform into skeletons, and this one I like, so it's here and there. Some collectibles have improved as well, and trust me, monoliths have their biggest shine here, where they have this little puzzle for you to do, and it's a little riddle like I see 7 golden birds, you can find me in one near the tree, or I lie silent where arrows once flew guarding a door which no longer open.
Gotcha.
Wow, just wow, this is perfection. Unfortunately, documents and relics and the other collectibles are just poorly designed and filled in the map, especially in the hidden city. That doesn't mean I'm not enjoying collecting them, but definitely felt fatigued in the end of the game. There are also the merchant, finally, to sell stuff. This is a much needed element where, unlike Rise, when you have full, let's say, wood, you're no longer restricted not to loot anymore. You can just sell it to the stupid merchant and keep looting your stuff. You can also buy more important stuff from him as well, so that's a plus. But there's a deadly sin in this open world, and unfortunately it's a massive one, and that is for like 40% of this game you are restricted to certain outfits and bow only, no weapons. Yes, you heard me right. Now whose idea is that? Don't ask me, just fire him, like please. It made everything not very useful, even shooting and how little it was, and the upgrades and also NPCs sometimes copied and based in some miserable way. Like one time I talked to an old lady only to find another duplicate behind her. I couldn't help myself but to laugh and closing my mouth to the shotgun barrel. Other time I found and spoke to a blind man only to find him in front of me with eyes this time. You know, stuff like that really weirded me out, since they can just put the NPCs wherever they want and they still choose to put them and their duplicate right next to each other. But anyway, obviously I think Shadow open world is nice since I 100%ed it and licked the dish, but I can't help but to say I'm disappointed, especially towards the previous powerhouse that is Rise. In short, it's lifeless and dreadful, but some amazing tombs and crypt to do.
Girl. I love old
You're on a
maps.
mission for a
When I was
grandmother who
little
sends her
girl,
daughter
they
on a
always
societal
tried to
mission to find
treasure.
out. You're on a mission for a grandmother who sends her daughter on a societal mission to find out that she's Maya and not Inca, because that's exactly how you tell someone about their origin. And it's very clear since Lara hinted out all throughout the story and the DLC, so no twist there. This is a weird one. I hate the plot and that you have to find 2 linear places at the beginning, but the Forge Tomb is interesting. This circle thing is fine, but I hate traversing in this one. That doesn't do a lot for me, and the reward isn't worth it. An okay DLC at best that doesn't do a lot for me, and the reward isn't worth it. Unlike the first one, this one is done very professionally. You get right into the Unlike the first one, this one is done very professionally. You get right into the action, no need for introduction. You have to restore the shield, which is a big deal for the people of Baititi, and their ruler. The wind in this DLC is something to be studied. Great level design where you have to see the flag or these bells right here to know if the wind is hitting or not. I also like this great puzzle here where you have to open this door and make your way to the shield. The visuals are amazing, and that's bring me to my early point. You can make jungles very interesting to look at. It's not very hard. Also, the blood is good. I care about the reward as much as I care about my hygiene, but it was fun. And that's, my friend, is an epic level design, which distinct itself quite well from the first DLC to be diverse.
Hello. Hello.
This one is weird. You have to investigate the early life of Amaro, or this one is weird. You have to investigate the early life of Amaro or Dominguez and his lost brother. Puzzles here are a bit confusing rather than good. Disclude that great Conan puzzle. That one I like very much indeed. Other than that, it's forgettable and you run around for too much. This is a good one. You have to rescue someone because he is in trouble and then he... This is a good one. You have to rescue someone because he is in trouble and then he goes into more trouble, so you have to rescue him again. Puzzles are very good, mostly made out of traps. You fight many enemies, which is a feature that DLC does a good job at, unlike the main game. Also, I like this whole floating wood thing. It has the second best area in the whole game, which is this perfect time traps. It mixes good timing with caution with puzzle solving quite well, and then the conclusion at the end is just so good and sad. Like I really felt for him. DLC, only takeaway is that you have to walk way too much in this one. A very good DLC, only takeaway is that you have to walk way too much in this one as well, unfortunately. Also a lot of cutscenes, very good nevertheless. A recipe which makes you hallucinate. A DLC which is too different from the rest. A recipe which makes you hallucinate. A DLC which is too different from the rest, at least in the early parts. Interesting plot involves Lara's darkest fears by having her friends killed, with a very strong shooting sections where you have to kill these weird creatures and then they turn into Trinity Soldier. And the best section in this whole game for me is that monkey area, by mixing platforming and avoiding traps and mechanism puzzles all at once. Also the reward is worth it, truly amazing, and the visuals are no exception. It really exists. Tremors happen because the crab artifact isn't... This one shouldn't really exist. Tremors happen because the crab artifact isn't in its place. Turns out that Trinity done that to lure Lara and kill her. Yes, you heard me correctly. I do think that the spirit section is good here, but that's about it. Maybe better than this average game experience, but nothing worth your time. And this is one of the lesser ones. Ascendancy rounds are not worth it as well. Creatures, the Ashir, have vanished from Baititi. Turns the final one. The scary creatures, the Ashir, have vanished from Baititi. Turns out that Lara and Yashir have some kind of connection. Great combat sections where you have to finish what's left of Trinity, and a right puzzle section, and then the best puzzle in this whole game, that statue puzzle, is amazing and epic game design. I really took some time to do it. While the reward isn't worth it, I found the plot and puzzles and shooting to be the best here. It does the best out of every other DLC except for the visuals, which goes for the pillar. Other than that, I love this one. So that's all the DLCs. They are pretty decent, though the Forge and the Grind are not on the same level as the rest, and I hate keeping to Death Stranding run in these DLCs, and somewhat it has some of the main game problems as well, but ultimately I found them to be all very satisfying and done mostly what this game lacks the most, which is shooting sections and hard puzzles and traps. As I said before, I love me some DLC which goes out of its way to do something different from the main game, and most of Shadow's DLCs does a good job at that. Much better than the main game. As always for this franchise, the DLCs are better than the game itself. Franchise, I wanted to like Shadow, I really did. After how much time I spent with this franchise, I wanted to like Shadow, I really did, but unfortunately Shadow of the Tomb Raider almost always take a step forward and 2 steps back. Do you want me, hate me? I do find it to be a very good and well made game, but fortunately that is not enough, especially if you come after 2 very strong titles. Shadow doesn't care much about your enjoyment, and here where it loses me, and lost many others. DLCs are much better than the main game and fixes almost every problem with the main game, and I do think combined with the DLCs is definitely worth it, but I still find the game to be a sad story of something that could have been much bigger. So much like its name, it will stay be a Shadow compared to the previous 2. I know I have been hard on this game, even though I tried not to be, but it's only because I saw great potential where they could have pleased the OG fans and the newer fans with it. This game took me 24 hours and 10 minutes to finish without the DLCs for 100% completion, and an exact 30 hours with the DLCs, by far the longest in the franchise, a bit longer than Rise, most of which were mixed between great and mediocre times.
I'm done searching. I want to be around the living.
Alright.
Don't you have to pack or something?
But here is the conclusion of this adventure in this channel. It has been great, but here is the conclusion of this adventure in this channel. It has been great 3 months with Tomb Raider. I never really cared about it before, but thankfully I did and had many adventures with it. I would like to thank you guys very much if you have stuck with me in these videos. I love your discussions in the comments and your different opinions on things. I rarely step into this much passionate fans of a franchise. If you hated me or think that I was giving stupid opinions, please be reminded that I played these games as a newcomer, and these games didn't exactly had what I call the warmest welcome, but I enjoyed my experience and talking with you people. I'll jump into Doom, and please don't be strangers because this series is finished. Watch and play Doom with me, so perhaps we will have as much fun as we did in Tomb Raider. I will also do Assassin's Creed, and even if you don't care about these games, don't worry, I got like 4 or 5 videos about Tomb Raider coming throughout my Doom videos. Thank you guys so much for giving me perhaps the best time of my life for the past 3 months, and that has been it. Take care.
rather starve. Yeah, probably.